Happy Educational Wednesday, guys. My name is David, and today we have the finale to our 6 principle stories. We are finishing. We went through all 6 principles of this book, Contagious, and we have finally reached the final day. I want to apologize for being on hiatus for a couple of Wednesdays. We had the 10X Growth Conference. I got sick. School came along, finals, coronavirus, everything came all at once. But I'm back, and we're here to finish up the last principle stories, which is one of my favorite principles, and it just has such great information. So that being said, we're going to go and talk about 4 different things today that really stand out in this chapter. The first one, we talk about information versus narratives. The second, we're going to talk about the Trojan horse of advertisement. Third, we're going to talk about the 3 little pigs. And 4, we're going to talk about how brands are woven into stories and how that's really important to people and companies. That being said, guys, we are here. We're finishing it. Final principle stories. So let's rock off and start off with the first topic and the first major point in this chapter, which is talking about how people don't think in terms of information. Instead, they think in terms of narratives. So what this means, it means that basically when you have some kind of viral situation, viral story, people don't look at the information, they look at the story. When people share information or when they share something viral or something that they find interesting, they don't really share the information, they share the story, right? So let's say someone broke their arm and fell off a cliff that was 5,000 feet. People don't remember something about a cliff, where it was. Maybe let's say it was in somewhere in Colorado, right? They don't remember the state. They don't really remember the mountain or the cliff. They don't remember how many feet they fell, because that's all information. That's all information that people don't really care about. They don't really pay attention to. So instead, when someone shares that the story with someone, it's gonna be a narrative like, "Hey man, did you hear this? One guy was in the mountains and he fell off a cliff, man, and he broke his arm." Right? They cut out the information, like the major detailed data, but they still have that story. They remember the story. So people don't memorize information. They don't memorize data as much as they memorize stories. And so that's really important to being contagious and increasing your brand image, because you want your brand to be more of a story. When you advertise, you want to advertise with a story, which leads me to the second point today, which is talking about the Trojan horse of advertisement. And that's, you have to advertise and weave into your advertisement is story. Right? You can't just advertise, "Oh my God, my product has 200% better returns than anyone else. It's 50% cheaper than the competition," blah, 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 and staying off facts and information. No one cares. No one's going to remember that. People don't even trust that. But let's say there's a story behind it. Like in your advertisement, you have a crying mother, or if you see those advertisements where you have, the dogs and either adopt a dog or donate to a dog shelter, or even kids and children. They have that whole entire sad story that people then relate to, and they feel bad for, and that's advertising for your company and your brand, right? So same thing. Let's say you have a brand that makes that we're gonna stick with maybe makeup and helps cure different aging lines and stuff for ladies out there. And let's say you have this mother that's worked and she's stressed and she has these lines and she doesn't feel good about her body, but all of a sudden she has this product, she tries it out, and it fixes all the wrinkles, right? And that product is your company's brand. It's your item that you're selling to people, and people see that story and they understand. They're able to sort of understand the perspective of the mother that had that issue and was able to solve that issue through the story, right? And this is so important because, again, going back to the first one, information is not enough to make you contagious, to make your product and your brand viral and interesting to people. When you advertise, you have to advertise with a story. You have to include some kind of story into your advertisement, and that's going to just create a Trojan horse. You're going to sneak your brand into people's defenses, past their shields of, "Oh, I don't trust that, I don't believe in that." trespassed in, and then all of a sudden that's where you burst out and be like, hey, this is my brand, this is what we do. All right, moving on to the third one, the Three Little Pigs. Again, this is going back to advertising with the story and information and all that stuff. So the whole moral of the Three Little Pigs, you know, you have the first pig, the wolf comes in, he blows the house down. The second pig, the wolf comes in, he has to blow it a little bit harder, but he still blows the house down. And the third pig, he was smart. He took his time and he actually built up a good foundation for his house. And so when the wolf came in, the wolf could blow all he wanted. In the end of the day, he wasn't getting anywhere. There's nothing to do. And so because of that, the moral of the story behind all this was that effort pays off, right? And so that whole story, even though it's cute, it's really cool. The branding behind it is, hey, effort pays off. There's a moral behind it, right? That moral is that Trojan horse. Like you're enjoying the story, but at the end of the story, you realize, hey, like, that's right. Like I should put effort into everything I do because it's going to reduce the risk of the wolf coming after me and blowing my house down and eating me. All right, so that's a great way of how, in some ways, advertisement was used in a story, or in this case, morals were used in a story. Now, moving on to the fourth one, that is your brand has to be woven into a story in such a way that it's impossible to not mention when people talk about it, the story, right? The Three Little Pigs, I mean, again, going back to that a little bit, it's impossible for you not to sort of mention the fact that, hey, look, effort pays off, right? As you're talking about this, the moral stands out to you that the pig really spent his time building and building this foundation, even though other pigs were having fun and had their house built so much faster, right? So your brand, when you brand with the story, you want to integrate in such a complex sort of way where people, to make the story make sense, your brand has to be mentioned, right? You can't just have your brand and your story just collide together and mishmash and hope that for the best. You want it to be able to connect together, stay strong together, where you can't untangle it. And in that way, the people, when they share the story that you either advertise or your brand is all about, they talk and they mention your brand in the story because it's so integrated, right? Apple does such a great way of the stories and talking about, oh my God, I took my photos with my iPhone, or anytime people talk about their iPhone, I mean, it just, it screams Apple. People know, like, it just, the whole, everything in the stories, every time they advertise, you know it's Apple. You just know instantly that it's Apple because they had this whole entire branding behind it. The story is so woven into the brand that it's impossible to not recognize when it's Apple. With that being said, though, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the last principle. This was, again, one of my favorite principles. This whole book, Contagious, was such a great book. I highly recommend you guys pick it up, check it out yourselves. Tell me and let me know what you thought about it. That being said, though, guys, please leave a like on this video. Share this video with your friends and family. Go ahead and subscribe or follow wherever you're watching this to really help my channel grow. We're trying to reach 10,000 people in 2020 on Facebook and YouTube. So help me get to those numbers. Let's pack the place, get some great information going, show the support, and leave some comments down below on what you thought about this principle and all the other principles. With that being said, though, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in next Wednesday when we have another great Educational Wednesday video. Peace out.